Alright, so what we doing? I'm gonna take a shot, bottle, or
Waiting on the cue.
just salud.
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 Well, you know, I think that there's a lot of things that are left unsaid in the hood, right? Like all of us in this table, right? In our stories, in our bonds, and like why we're here. I think it's important to like acknowledge that we're sitting on stolen land. Like this is indigenous land.
For sure.
This is not land that, is native to a lot of people, and our survivalship and, ultimately our death, a lot of it is given to us in our own hands, but is rooted in white supremacy and colonialism.
Exactly.
And the trauma that we each carry, like not just our lived trauma, but the trauma that's in our DNA, in our blood, the trauma that our own mothers carried when we were in utero. And therefore, a lot of it is left up to survivalship. And like how that's not the same as thriving, And there's like a lot of pain in that too. I think that's the most important thing to remember, is that like pain and suffering are very similar, but they're not the same. Because one's a choice, and how you deal with it is different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like being in the hood, you don't really have a choice. It's kind of just, it's what's ever given to you. That being in the hood is just, you wake up, you go to school, and you walk to school, and you just see, like, you don't have a choice like what you're gonna see that day. You wake up, you might see a nigga get shot, you might see a nigga get stabbed, somebody get robbed. You don't know what you're gonna see, and it's kind of just, you kind of just take it day by day, but you never know how to process it. It just kind of goes by over your head, just. And really, like, one day you just sit down, you're just like walking in the park, you're walking to school, you're at home, and that everything just hits you like a ton of bricks. And you don't even know what to feel, how to feel, what to say. And you kind of just take it all in, and it kind of just, you kind of lose sight of reality, you know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of just sit back and just like, why me? Why my friends? Why my family? Because I myself lost both of my best friends 2 blocks away from here, like right on California.
R.I.P.
We were right there. We were right there by there today. I went to go get a test, and we were just right there. And it just, and even though it shit happened like a couple years ago, like that shit still never gets away from me. Like, I still imagine like why my friends, why my best friends, like why not me? You know what I mean? And that kind of shit you don't really talk to nobody about. You don't talk to your mom, your dad, your brother, because in the hood you raised to be a man. You know what I'm saying? Quotation marks. Because as a man, you don't feel nothing. You're supposed to be strong. You gotta be that example for the mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters. You gotta be an example for everybody. But at the end of the day, they never teach you how to feel, how to like mourn, how to like understand what you're going through. You know what I mean? And that, I feel like that's what's missing in the hood, in the neighborhood. That like you gotta understand how to feel, how to like just understand who you are as a person. Because we don't understand that. It's just something happens and you just move on to the next thing. Something happens, you move on to the next thing. Just keep on moving on, moving on.
You don't address the issue. You don't address the trauma or the hurt, the feel. And that's the thing, is like I felt the same way when I was growing up. I felt like I didn't have a choice, that this is my life, it is what it is. I'm bound to either get shot, to be part of this clique, to just be part of what's going on around me. And it all goes back to what we were talking about, like, when you step away 10 minutes away from your own neighborhood, it's such a game changer. It feels like you're in a suburb. You take Archer Avenue a little bit further west and you're just like, wow, man, it's like I'm like in the burbs here, But then you come back to your own hood and you just feel isolated. You feel like you're in a mental prison. You do feel like you can't, like you don't have options, but in reality, you got the same options just like Timmy on the other, neighborhood, or just like anybody else in a well-off neighborhood. You have the same options, we're some of them are still American born. They still got really a lot of good rights compared to other immigrants, I myself come from, I'm first generation here. I had to deal a lot with immigration. I had to battle so many things. Not only that, but then also my identity, right? Because now I'm no longer in Mexico. I'm now living in Chicago. So it's like, how do I do this transfer, this just transition, And once you make it, even at that, it's still not really, you're still up in the air, And I feel like That's how a lot of kids feel. They don't know where to belong. And then the hood comes in, right? Now we feel at home at the hood. Like, yes, you know, I'm used to the shootings. You know, my homie passed away. Why am I lucky? But yet it still feels home. It still feels home that I could still walk down the corner store. Yo, what up, G? I could still, you know, see the paletero, elotero, con buenas tardes, you know what I mean? Regardless of all the bad things, there's still a lot of good things.
Facts.
When we start to grow, as we get older, the way I started seeing things, when I started traveling, going outside of my city, going outside of my block, I started realizing, I'm like, man, dude, there's a whole fucking world out here. Like, I would get so fucking culture shock when I would go to other places or meet other people and just be like, yo, this is how you live? Y'all think like this? You think positively? You know, like, I met some really good people that you know, most of my grimy friends would probably do the way it is to be done. But these people did it differently. They had a whole different moral compass, and that, to me, everything that I've learned up until to this day, I do truly believe that it is our responsibility to return those riches back to the hood. Whatever we learn, it's almost like our obligation. We felt that pain. We're going it through with you, and we're going through everybody. And if we could help some way, somehow, then we could help by giving that wisdom back. Whatever we know.
Thanks.
Not only that, but I also think, like, as women, you know, a lot of men tend to talk about this thing. Like, we have, you know, we lose friends, we lose all of this. But as women, we have to pick up the pieces as well. Whether you identify with yourself or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, we see the trauma, we want to help. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do we help without harming in some sense? And sometimes it's like, we tend to be that stereotype. And we tend to be like, oh, yeah, you hear, like, yeah, you live in Little Village, or yeah, you live in Pilsen, yeah, you live in Bacadars, you must be used to that. But it wasn't like that before. Before it was all about respect. Before it was all about, like, yeah, that's my girl, like, that's my guy, like, have some respect, you know? But it's unfortunate that it's 2020, you know, and yet we're still living in that situation where, damn, we're still losing homies, yet we're still seeing all these cases and all this, you know, shit. You know, what can we do as a community to help, you know? It seems like sometimes, like, we're seen as the forgotten, but we're not, you know? It starts like this. It starts as a small group of people. We get the voice out, and that's how it happens. You know, we got to shine some light on the darkness. It's not always about, like, shootings and, oh, my God, somebody got stabbed. It's not about that. It's about more, like, the love between the people.
Exactly.
Just like how you said, we see in elotero, paletero, automatically that's respect. Because that's their job and that's their living.
Yeah.
You know?
And they're in our community.
And that's their hustle. And at the end of the day, we respect that hustle. It don't matter if you sell candies out here. It don't matter. At the end of the day, the respect is the hustle. And that's the beauty of our people.
That's that Mexican blood.
And
That's like born into us.
And that's
like
the thing
everybody has
about, that's the symptoms of trauma. Like when you said earlier, like, you know, or like when I go back to my parents' crib and they moved out of the city and I can't sleep because I sleep over there. Like,
What are you saying
it's
right
like, right now I live in Little Village.
What are
They
your parents
live
saying
like
about
in like Schaumburg area.
Nice.
They moved out over there. And it's like when I sleep over, I can't sleep because there are no sirens, there are no gunshots, there is no noise,
It's too
you know.
quiet.
But that's the thing, like we're conditioned, our brain is conditioned to normalize and internalize that that's okay, and that's normal, and that it's acceptable. Like in Mexico, you know, like I can't even sleep when the panadero goes by,
Or
right?
gas,
Or the gas, the tortillas, but that's different. That's
different.
that's
It's a whole other
different
world.
because
It
that's
is
not
different.
It's a whole other
threatening.
world.
That's not life threatening.
Nope.
But your brain chemically, it's conditioned to those things, to think that those things are okay, and that's why so many people in the hood are so defensive.
Oh, for sure.
Because, you know, if you look at somebody wrong, or if you know, saludas, right? I salud at everybody, like my
Yeah,
grandmother
yeah.
taught me. But
They're
if you
respectful.
look, you know, even a little bit suspicious or like shyster, like you're not from here, you know, you're gonna get checked. And why is that? You're gonna get checked because you're looked as an outsider.
Yep.
And
Then you
again,
follow.
like you're just trying to survive for the next day. So by doing that, you're actively being defensive. You know, and your central nervous system is like your shoulders are like risen, right? You're kind of like leaning in.
Yes,
You're
a
like
lot.
watching like what's in front of you, your peripherals, you know, because your body's telling you I'm
Something's
always
up.
in danger.
Yeah.
Facts.
And when you live like that,
Facts.
and you're and your brain is absorbing all of this, like, hormones and cortisol, that's the stress hormone, like, your learning is stunted. Like, our kids have a lot of trauma in their blood, and if they're worried about getting to school healthy, alive, right, that's the first challenge of the day. How does that set up their nervous system to learn and to communicate, like you said?
It's a survival thing that they now
It's a survival. There's ain't nothing else. You just learn how to survive. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people go to school even just to eat. Honestly, I know a lot of friends, a lot of homies that will go to school to eat.
Yeah,
they wouldn't go to school because they want to learn. No. They will go to school because they know they're going to get a food.
Yep.
They're going to get like a lunch. They're going to get lunch at 12, 12:30. They're going to eat. They're going to go to school in the middle of the day. They're going to eat, and they're going to go to school at the end of the day. They're going to go home, and they're still going to have food in their stomach. They're going to go home. They don't know what they're going to eat, but it don't matter because at 12 o'clock, they know they're going to eat. And that's what, like you said, we're trained to do. And that's what the system taught us to do. Like at 12 o'clock, you're going to eat.
Yep.
If you don't have family, mom, dad, it don't matter. At 12 o'clock, you're going to eat. And that's it. So, I mean, school, like, it teaches us a lot, but it don't teach us how to, like, survive. It teaches you how to be an employee, or it teaches you how to be, like, a slave to somebody at the end of the day.
Yeah, a robot.
Honestly, like,
Compliance.
exactly. It's like how to accept what somebody else tells you to do.
Almost like deprogramming,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly, because you lose who you are, because you lose how to think independently, how to be a person. Because you are cookie cut into like, this is who you have to be, this is what you have to do, because the government tells you, because the school tells you. But even in elementary school, honestly, like as a kid, I learned to like, that shit, cookie cutting is not who I am. That's not who I want to be. Like, I want to do something different. I want to show my friends, my family, my cousins, that you can be who you want to be. Like, even if the school don't teach you how to do that, fuck the school, fuck the system, fuck everything we know. That doesn't matter because that shit does not teach you how to be who you want to be. It teaches you how to be a cookie cutter. It teaches you how to fit into the system.
To be
and
compliant.
that shit, to be
Yep.
compliant.
To be
Exactly.
compliant,
and at the end of the day, that shit does not get us nowhere. That shit does not get you. Like, I can be good for my life, but like, how's my sister gonna be? How's my brother gonna be? How's my cousin gonna be?
How's the younger generation
exactly.
gonna be?
Like, at the end of the day,
What are we showing?
When I'm gone, what's gonna happen?
Exactly. It's like, when I'm gone, like, what is my last name? Who am I? Like, what do I have to show for everything I've done in my life? Because at the end of the day, when I'm gone and I'm dead and gone, it don't matter who the fuck I am, what I did. All that's that matters is my last name and what I did for the people around me. You know what I mean? Because that's why, like, at the end of the day, at La Playa, the restaurant, Maestro La Playa, it doesn't matter who I am. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be dead and gone. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, it doesn't matter who I am. Because at the end of the day, what I did now is gonna impact my family and my friends at the end of the day. 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, my family gonna eat because of what I did now. And honestly, that shit means more to me than anything. I'll be gone, I'll be dead and gone. I don't give a fuck if I'll be dead and gone. But as long as my sister, my cousins, my mom, my dad, my future cousins are good, that's cool with me. Because I did what I have to do now to support for my family. And my future.
And
my
feel
future,
that,
you know what I mean?
That's
'Cause-
exactly what I'm doing with all this. Like I told you guys, I didn't go to school for this. I'm not a graphic designer. I had no interest in creating a clothing brand or anything, but I just started teaching myself. Thank you. And I started doing this just, again, same thing for my family, my daughter, my nieces, because we're not raised to follow our dreams. We're not raised to work hard for the life that you want. No, you have to work hard
For somebody else.
For somebody else,
make money for somebody else.
or if you want to get the education that you want, then you have to put yourself in debt. You have to put yourself into a debt that you can no longer get away, and then you're
Fuck
still
that.
stuck in that system. And then we got the own system in the hood, right? We got the own politics, the own chains. But again, how do we break all this? By exactly what we're doing, right? By bringing back these old tradiciones of being kind, of being courteous to one another, but also bringing in new ideologies of, what, it's time to start breaking these circles. It's time to really start acknowledging
Generational
what,
cycle.
what trauma means. What does trauma mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how do we connect? Not only how do we find a way to start dealing with trauma, but how do we start connecting to our own ancestral roots?
Yep.
Like I never thought about approaching what it meant to be, indigenous, what it really meant to be from this land, what it means to be in touch with
one with
nature.
the nature,
I'm a yogi. I've been practicing yoga for the past five years. It's really changed my life, but it helped me connect myself to realize damn, dude, as Latinos, we're so disconnected from our inner self, from our
Yes.
roots, bro, from our
Yes.
roots. And it's just like, and then now you look
Yeah,
around, it's just like, yo, there's so many things. But again, how do we change? What can I do? And this is how it starts by saying, "Oh, buenas tardes." Oh, hey, te puedo ayudar, hermano? Regardless of how he looks, even if he has, even if his head is to the left or to the right, or yellow or gold or whatever, can I help you with that, bro?
Exactamente.
Yo, I've seen people like this. I grew up in the late '90s where we were shorties and we gangbang, but we did it because our peers did it, because our friends from our different neighborhoods did it. But we
Protect our own neighborhood.
Yeah,
Protect the hood. Protect the hood.
But then check this
That's
out.
what it's about.
Then we would go. Then we would have school, and we'd be cool as hell.
Yeah.
Like we'd be
Facts.
cool with other
With the
different.
Ambros,
Yeah, it
folks, we be
didn't
cool with
matter.
everybody.
It didn't matter. All,
X, X, X.
At the end of the
it-
day, we all Latino. We all Mexican.
Exactly,
At the
and
end
it's
of
just
the
like,
day.
yo,
At the end
if
of
some
the
of
day.
us had relationships like that, and I meet other people, I meet other bangers. They're like, oh yeah, that's my homie. Oh yeah, he, so and so. It's like cool. Then why don't we grow on that? You know what I mean? I know there's politics behind everything, but it's still possible. It's we shouldn't be scared of it. We shouldn't be scared of having a friend who's our op. All right, an op is just a mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, that's
It's the
my opposite.
system.
It's a system. It's a
system
systematic thing.
because that's what
We know.
we feed into. Like speaking like when you were saying earlier, like on compliancy, right? Like at school they teach you like a routine. You have first period, second period, third period, whatever.
Not be the
And you
slave.
have to be compliant to that, right? Because that's what they want you to do. But not just that, but look at our schools here in Little Village, right?
Yep.
Farragut, Links, LVLHS, like
And
they don't
Sutuco.
even have a nurse.
Nope.
They don't have a librarian.
Don't.
They don't have AC,
They
heating.
don't.
Like, but do you think that schools on the north side have those things?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
They even got a track
They
field.
got
So-
More than
that's what I'm
enough.
saying.
More than
So,
enough.
it's like-
More than enough.
You're right. Like, all children should have the same access. All children should have medical,
Yo,
medical
Why don't
stuff.
they, though? That's the real question.
But that's the thing. They don't because it's
just not
product of the
system
system.
set up. That's all.
Pick and choose, pick and choose.
Capitalism
Pick and
is rooted
choose.
in colonialism and in stealing and in massacre and in rape. So therefore, we are products of that as well.
Yep.
So we fall into that too. Because if you're not working, right, to meet your minimum wage job, to then go home, right, and like try to pay your rent, which is like probably a lot in inflation, wherever you are, plus you're
much.
disadvantaged,
Too
like
much.
it wasn't a mistake. It was
Yep.
all made like on purpose, redlining. The biggest threat that we could do to the system and to white supremacy is to be united.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's the biggest threat.
But can you say it one more time?
The biggest threat? The biggest threat to white supremacy is for us all of us to be united.
Because honestly, like, and that's what you said again, because as Latinos and Mexicans, like, I love my culture, I love my people, but at the end of the day, like, we're with each other when it really comes down to it. Like, when everything happened on 26th Street with the Morenos, I hate to say that shit, but the Morenos, they were trying to come at us. They were trying to come at our community, our family, our business, our culture. But we came together. Like, at the end of the day, it had to be with Kings, it had to be the folks, it had to be 2-6. But at the end of the day, that showed us that at the end of, like, we couldn't come together. Like, when it really
don't
comes down to it, no matter what happens, we are for each other. Doesn't matter what gang you in, what culture you in, whatever you were raised on. When it comes to our survival and who we are as people, we are one. So it sucked, and I hated to see that it had to come down to that point. But it showed us who we are as people. That as Mexicans, Latinos, we can do so much together when we're united. That we can stop and do so much, but like it had to take somebody trying to take from us to come together. But it's like, why does it come to that point?
But it was further though. But it was further. It goes further than that because George Floyd and just
Right.
like any other person of color,
Right.
our deaths are like any other thing. Our deaths are a commodity. We are disposable to them. So when that happened, what did they do? What did the city choose to do? They rose up all of the bridges.
The bridges.
Yeah.
And why
Protect
was that?
downtown.
That's nothing.
Protect downtown.
Look,
Yeah,
como
protect
dice el dicho.
downtown.
Mira,
Exactly.
Protect downtown.
los dichos no son por dichos. Yeah. Preguntando se llega a Roma. Okay? So look, all this shit that's been happening, unfortunately, we're witnessing it now. But the good thing is that at least we got some people out here that actually know what the fuck is going on. Alright? So it's not just the people of color, which is the black community, but it's also the brown community. okay? Because not only I've been working in a predominantly person of color community, and I've been felt like I also been discriminated by that culture, and we kind of tend to minimize like how we tend to feel because it's always about like a specific type of group, but we're all in this shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just about Black Lives Matter, but it's also about us brown people as well. You know, like, I grew up in the back of the yards, and just like, you know, a bunch of you guys said, like, you know, we lost a lot of, like, homies and all that shit, but at the end of the day, it's like, what can we do to change that cycle? You know? Like, what can we do for the next generation to see, like, yo, that's not cool, man. Like, what is cool is, like, respecting your elders and knowing how to talk to them. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what kind of, like, shows a reflection of who you are. The education starts at home. So you can't really, like, yeah, you can blame the system for sure, but at the end of the day, you go home back to the system. My mom works for a school. She's a lunch lady, and she tells me every day, man, there's so much food being thrown out that I wish I can just give it to, like, la gente en Mexico, la gente whatever. And you're right when you said, like, no somos de allá ni somos de aquí. We're kind of stuck in that in between, like, where am I at, you know? Like, exactly.
We're Chicago.
But at the end of the day, somos Chicanos, okay? Somos mestizos, somos mestizas, because at the end of the day, we're indigenous, but we're also, like, from European descent. My dad is he's Indian as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, él no habla español, lo único que él habla es puro dialecto. So when my grandma, rest in peace, when she was alive, she was like, you don't fucking speak Spanish in this household. You know, you speak Nahuatl, because that's our language. And that's my question going back. Like, I love my religion. I love La Virgen. I love everything about me being Mexican. But at the end of the day, like, what about my ancestors? They believed in el Dios del sol, del agua, de la tierra. Exactamente. Y ahora esta gente güera nos viene y nos dice, oye, tú tienes que creer en esto, Jesucristo. Which I love Jesus, because at the end of the day, I am Catholic. But at the end of the day, like, I asked my OG, hey, like, how do we know all of these things when our ancestors, Moctezuma, all these people, all of our, like, estructuras religiosas were burned. So how can we go up to it and be based off of something based off the white people? And it goes back to your question, like, how do we fight this white supremacy? At this point, like you said, and everybody in this table has said, we need to stick together. You know,
we have to decolonize our
exactly.
Minds.
It's not like
we have to question everything.
Exactamente.
Like, I understand what you mean. You know, like my father is an indigenous person too. He's from Puebla. And my mom
oh my God, me
is
too. Me too.
yeah, for real.
Yeah,
So
what part?
And the Tepeaca.
Oh my God, girl, Tepatlasco, Tepeaca is like 15 minutes away from me.
We gotta chop it up after this, but
sorry.
It's
That's a different conversation,
It's on a
guys.
segment.
cool.
Oh my God, that's so cool though. I never met anybody from Tepeaca. Oh my God.
So,
sorry, guys.
So you know,
This is a moment. No, this is a moment for
the
you.
decolonization, like, you
It's
know,
true,
like
though, it's
my
true.
mom is from Michoacan, but she grew up in LA. And like, you know, you have to question like this stuff. You have to question everything, you know, because
You have
like
to.
my dad, he was here by himself, right? Like he didn't have no brothers here, and like he really tried his best to teach me and my sisters like Nahuatl, and although my mom still carried this,
Girl,
like,
my sister,
you know,
I mean, my daddy too.
yeah, like, you know, La Virgen de Guadalupe, but you have
Exactamente.
to decolonize yourself, and you need to understand like why the things are the way they are. Like La Virgen de Guadalupe, as we know her of that image, it's not accurate. It's not
It's true,
accurate.
though. It's true.
Donat seeing the real goddess of the universe
true,
and of
though.
the
It's
world
true.
had a similar structure to her, but we
But if there's
had to do what we did to survive, because our people were getting murdered, they were killed.
Oh, for sure. And
know?
raped. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
like,
massacre.
Nuestras Indians are being all of that shit. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't mean that shit. But, like, when I would go to Puebla, my grandma would be so upset with me if I said, hola, ¿cómo estás? She'll be like, douche, We don't speak Spanish in this household. We speak Nahuatl because for the same reason that she strongly believed, she was not Catholic, but she strongly believed in los dioses del sol, de la agua y de la tierra. And if you think about it, that is who we are. Like you can literally Google and be like, what is a star made out of? Carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen. That is literally what we are made out of. Okay? So at the end of the day, we're just stardust. It just depends on how you choose to actually send an impact in this world. Whether it's the next generation or whether it's just a personal goal for yourself. But at the end of the day, it all connects to itself. Okay? Before we got here, before anything got here, gracias a Dios. Let me put my mask on because. But at the end of the day, like, it's true what you said. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you have to question it. Yeah,
you have to question it because, you know, and you know what? And when it comes to us questioning it as women, like, we're seeing kind of like, why are you even questioning it in the first place? Just stick to this script and you'll be fine. You'll get a husband, you'll get a girlfriend, you get whatever you want. But that's not the case. That is not the case. The case is that, like, no, I want to recreate what happened before even what I was even here. You know what I'm saying? Like, por ejemplo, yo soy mucho de los dichos. O sea, yo soy muy de, like, okay, preguntando si llega a Roma. Y si no, pues ahí te quedas atorada. Tell me not. So, the thing, that's my mestiza side. That's my mama side. She's European as fuck. She's Española. When it comes to my dad, he's always here like, you need to focus on who you are and how you're going to recreate who you are and how you're going to impact everybody. Like we all said, nothing left but besides dried ass fucking trees. Why though? You have fucking places like Bucktown, Uptown, Boys Town, striving. Why can't we not strive? That's our people, you know? Like, that's our tradición. That's our sazón. Everything, you know? At the end of the day, it's our job as hijos de inmigrantes to be like, we're not like how you think we are. But we're better than you. But we're not going to show you that we're better than you. We'll tell you.
We'll show you.
Okay? We'll show you all that shit. Okay? Because at the end of the day, we're humble as fuck. We come from nothing and yet we're here. As opposed to, like, por ejemplo, gente que compra propiedad en Pilsen, que son güeras.
Gentrifiers.
Exactly. Que nos quedamos como que, oye, espérate. Aquí antes hubo una pinche iglesia, era una library, something. You know what I'm saying?
But that's a symptom of colonialism.
Exactly.
Like, the same thing is reoccurring, like intergenerational trauma, and these systems, like I said, are made for a reason.
Yes.
You know?
But
And
for
like,
what?
and I remember,
For what?
Charles, when the riots were happening, what did the 5-0 say to each other when the Latinos
Just-
were shooting each
yeah,
other?
let them kill them.
Let 'em kill 'em.
Let
Let 'em
them kill
go.
each other.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like,
Look.
again, what did you say? How can we change the cycles? How can we influence another generation?
Yep.
It has to start with us
With
right
us.
now,
Yep.
and it has to continue. We can't just stop because they're gonna let us kill ourselves. You know,
That's
we
what they
just
want.
had the homie here, and his first reaction
What they
to what he wanted to say was like, "Oh,
What
I'm
is
gonna
it?
go kill those. I'm gonna go
What is
shoot
it?
them." You know what I mean? And it's just like it's that mentality. It's that mentality that we need to break our people away from. Now, when we talk about gentrification, we talk about areas like Pilsen, areas like Wicker Park, Logan Square, that were predominantly, you know, Latinos at one point. You know, it's a cycle. You know what I mean? When I did the book, you know, Letters to Chicago, it took me down that rabbit hole between the 50s and the 60s where we started seeing it. Well, gentrification starting a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
that was already a
Before,
system. Yeah, it was
that
way
Czech,
before.
the
The
Polish.
Irish, we're trying to get
Bro.
here.
Yeah,
You know who was here
Irish,
before us
Polish,
in this
Lithuanian.
neighborhood? The Czech and the Polish.
Yo, Lithuanian
This whole
people are
neighborhood,
There
this
you
whole
go.
neighborhood, my
Right.
dad, and in Pilsen, you go right now, you'll see Polish neighborhoods.
For us,
You'll
it was
see Czech.
Polish. Yeah.
You see the building right here down the block on 21st and like Marshall Boulevard? That shit is not run by Latinos. That's all run by like Polish, Czech, everybody else except from Latino. that whole building is nothing but people that are not
Look,
from the area.
let me
from
tell
the
you
neighborhood,
something.
You know what I mean?
I grew up back in the yards, but at the end of the day, like, for the same reason, my dad that saw all that shit that was going on back in the yards, he grew up, he had 5 girls, and I'm the baby of the family. So he's like, you know what? Let me get my girls out of this hood. We love the hood, okay? Because everybody was so cool as fuck in the hood. Como dijimos, ni de aquí, ni de allá. But once we got into the neighborhood that we are at, man, they saw the first brown people and they're like, you know what? Let's call the cops. They probably sell drugs. What happened? We got raided. We got raided by the cops, nasty as hell. Like, to the point where everything was destroyed. Why? Because they never believed that a Mexican, like my dad, that's been here since 18 to the age of 60, has been working so hard to get the house that he has now. You know? So, every time that people want to speak, or especially my neighbors that want to speak on Mexican culture and all this shit, I always shut them up. I'm like, you don't have nothing to say about us because we've been struggling since the 80s. Even way before that.
You have
Okay?
no idea.
Even
They got no idea
way
how
before
much
that.
how much money Mexicans make. Cause low key 26th Street, what was that, like 2 years ago? That they talking about 26th Street made more money in taxes than Michigan Avenue did.
Oh yeah, 26th
Yeah.
Street. Well, it's been
2 years ago.
Tell
2
me
years
now.
ago?
Yeah.
I do
Tell
know
me
about
now.
Why is
Yeah.
that?
It's been like that for a
That's
long
no
time, though.
that's no question. That's no. You don't have to doubt that. Why? Because Mexicans, if you take Mexicans out of like any profession, seafood, cooking, business, if you take Mexicans out, you're gonna lose like at least like 50%
Yep.
of this country from Mexicans. Because why? As Brenda said before, she probably said, but her dad, her grandparents, they were brought here to the United States because the United States paid Mexicans to come here to
Yeah.
cultivate
Braceros.
aguacates,
That was my grandpa.
tomatoes.
That was my grandpa.
And people don't talk about that because that shit I forgotten because they don't want to remember that. They don't want to think about that.
R.I.P. my
But that's
OG.
exactly. But that's the culture because they know Mexicans. At the end of the day, we're gonna work.
We're hard workers.
We're gonna work hard as fuck. We're gonna work for like half of whatever they pay any other white motherfucker, which is cool. But we're gonna still gonna.
Tell me
Exactly.
not.
You know what I'm
Tell me
saying?
not.
Exactly, because they know without us, there
There's
ain't
nothing.
no Mexican, there ain't no American culture.
Nope.
Because if they take us out of the equation, there's no culture. Because we are the ones that put in the work that nobody else
Yeah, what
wants
you
to
say,
do.
el sazón, ¿verdad?
Exactly. We get that flavor, nigga.
We are South Bay.
Salt Bay. If you take out Salt Bay is cool, but that nigga's just like
Well, we
in
Salt Bay
Turkey.
or-
He's in Middle East. He's out there.
He
He's cool.
is, though.
He's the Instagram.
Famous.
He's the Instagram famous motherfucker. But when you really come down to it, he's the one putting the salt. But who's the one that cooked that shit? Who's the one that cut that shit? Who's the one that ordered that shit? I bet you on everything I love.
Yep.
My tío,
Yep.
my uncle,
Come on.
my primo, my prima.
Speak,
They're the
speak,
one. They're the
speak.
niggas that one that ordered that shit.
Yep.
Because they're the ones that be like, all right, we need XXX amount of carne, and we need XXX amount of carne today because we need to cut that shit tomorrow to cut for this motherfucker to come in.
Look.
For Salt Bay to come in and put his little motherfucking salt. But we're the motherfuckers that order that shit,
Look,
cut
look,
that
look.
shit, prep that shit, bread, cook that shit.